there's been a lot of attention on the skills gap and trying to make sure that uh, jobs that aren't going to be replaced by technology, right? That we have enough people that are skilled in those areas. And I'm curious because I've read a little bit about Foundry College. Can you share how Foundry is addressing the skills gap?
First of all, I have two teenage kids, so that's my anecdotal data set. And yes, but I think the data bears it out. I think this generation of learners, for better or for worse, I mean, we can argue about whether it's better or for worse, um, think in terms of months and not years. Uh, they just do. And when I was coming out of high school and going to college, I thought, okay, so I'm going to spend 4 years doing this, and there'll be some stuff in the middle. I'll get summer jobs, and maybe I'll take a year off, maybe not. Maybe I'll transfer schools. I probably won't. 4 years, and then maybe 4 years of grad school, law school, whatever comes next. I thought of it in these broader bites. I think that's changed. I think part of the world of learning, that's one part of it that we just have to accept as real. That you know, Gen Xers and Gen Zers and Gen Cers, all these people, they think of bites of time as just smaller. So we just have to take that into account as we're building things. So I think someone we both worked with at Academic Partnerships always thought in terms of sort of stackability. So what you want, and that what Foundry does, is to try to find ways to show to learners that there are pieces to this. It's not just that you spend a year doing your distribution requirements and then a year picking a major and then 2 years in your major. Those aren't steps. That's one giant block of steps for people, and it's a lot. And I still think that for, I don't know, 10-20% of the American public, if we're focusing on the United States, we'll just continue thinking of it that way. But for a huge percentage of the world, the American educational world, they want to think of this in pieces. So what Foundry was built with that in mind. And Stephen Kosslyn was our founder. I had worked with Stephen at Harvard, and then I had worked with Stephen at Minerva Project. We spent many years working together, and he founded this based on his notions, scientifically demonstrated as former chair of the psychology department at Harvard and dean for social sciences at Harvard, about how people learn. I won't go into the particulars of the science of learning. I'm not really qualified. That's really a Stephen question. But the idea, the basic idea, is to meet students where they are. As a teacher, I tried to adapt what I was going to teach to the audience, certainly. But it was still just, I need to teach you the following 20 things, and I'm going to use various tools that seem to work for me. But what edX did and others is you had this massive scale where you could survey 1 million students in a MOOC and say, okay, so the students that actually completed the class, did they watch more videos? Did they do more reading? We actually know that now. So the other thing that we know from surveying employers, and this is where Foundry comes in, is what's the skills gap, as you put it, that employers see employees walking into the door with. And a huge part of that, it's not whether they can code in Python, although they're always looking for more people who can do that. It's, can they communicate clearly? Can they communicate effectively? Can they manage themselves at work? Right? Those sorts of things which mark you both to get the job in the first place, but also to keep the job. So what happened in the past, and this is where Stephen's genius comes in, is that you would learn those skills kind of by osmosis, right? You take a certain number of lecture courses, you take a certain number of seminars, and you'd learn to write clearly. Someone would make a point around a seminar table, or your professor would make a point and raise your hand in a giant lecture. And you'd say something, and if it didn't land, you would learn to do it differently, but not directly. So Stephen flipped that pyramid over, and he teaches those skills, or we teach those skills absolutely directly. So the bottom of our stack is that it's directly teaching how to communicate effectively, communicate clearly, manage yourself at work. All of those things that used to be taught just kind of along the way, just teach those directly. So that's the bottom of the stack. And then what people want is they want to be walked up those stairs. So if you look at our logo, it's a series of steps going up. The second step are credentialed certificates. So you take that bottom of the stack where you've learned how to communicate clearly, and then you go to things like you can become in another few months. So this whole process for us takes about 9 months total to be a Salesforce administrator. So again, flipping the equation, we went to Salesforce and we said, okay, so show us what you have to know to earn the super badges that will go on your LinkedIn profile. We'll teach those on top of the stack of those durable professional skills, what used to be called soft skills. And in 9 months, you can be a Salesforce administrator, make $50,000 plus a year, costs very little money compared to say an undergraduate education. And at the end of those 9 months, you'll get a job as a Salesforce administrator or a project manager. You'll also take with you these durable skills that'll last you for the rest of your life. On top of that step, we have an associate's degree, which is still I think for the majority of Americans, sort of still the coin of the realm. Certificates are great, and we certainly offer those. And again, on the certificate part, getting a certificate from Foundry College, interesting, but not that valuable from a job perspective. We're a new company. Our brand doesn't mean as much as another company's would. So you get a certificate from us, but you also get 3 super badges from Salesforce or from CompTIA. Those, you apply for a job. If they're on your LinkedIn profile, you'll get the job. At least you get the interview. But and then you can step off if you want. You can step off for as long as you want, do that job for a couple of years, come back and get an associate's degree from us. And then from there, first of all, all of our courses are American Council of Education certified, so they're all transferable. But then you can articulate into a bachelor's degree and go anywhere you want from there. So from our perspective, we're trying to address the skills gap by making it as easy as possible for anyone. We basically have no entrance requirements. You come in, we'll give you the durable professional skills. We'll walk you up the next step of the ladder to get you the certified credential from us and from a third party. And then we'll walk you to the associate's degree in business management. And from there, again, the door's open to any other place you want to go. Bachelor's degree, from there you can go anywhere you want, get more credentials. The skills gap is a mysterious thing because I think what employers are looking for is continually changing. And as you said, not being replaced by some machine and giving you those skills. So for us, there are lots of coding academies. There are lots of other people who can teach you how to code in Python. We teach you those professional skills that will stay with you for a lifetime. And then being a Salesforce administrator is going to require a human for many years to come. It requires, a lot of it is automated, but it requires an extraordinary amount of human interaction with the customer. You can do it remotely from anywhere in the world you want. Project management, same thing. There are tens of millions of jobs in that. So that's how we're addressing the skills gap.
That's fantastic. And as you were describing how your logo relates to the scaffolding that you created and the intentional design of those soft skills, I loved how you called them durable professional skills. Is that right?
I think soft skills, it just sounds like you're diminishing it. It's like, well, those aren't important. And again, I think we called them that because we couldn't teach them before. So I think that's Stephen Koslam's genius is, okay, so if those are the skills that need to be taught, we teach them on our own platform, which is fully synchronous learning. So again, I don't think these skills can be taught also asynchronously, at least very well. The only way you can learn how to manage a project is to manage it with other people live. So we spent our first year and a half really building what's called the Forge, our synchronous learning platform, where it's designed, so things like Zoom, not to say anything negative about platforms out there, they were designed as business meeting softwares, and then they had to be adopted for learning. So our team built it from the ground up for learning. So things like breakout rooms, which are sort of a bolt-on for a lot of these platforms, those were the very first thing that had to be designed for our platform. If you're going to teach people these durable skills, you have to teach them live. So we designed a platform that allows that to scale. So our core is not a seminar or a meeting of 20. Our core, our building block is a lecture, because learning is still about communicating ideas at scale. then breaking out into smaller rooms and helping each other learn as learners and allowing the teacher, one teacher, to manage a room of 200 or more students all by yourself. No tech support, no teaching assistants. It has to scale from the lecture. That has to be the building block of everything, because otherwise you don't really allow schools to get bigger. What they need to use, just in all, as all under industries, they need to use fewer resources to serve more customers. So that's also how we manage to teach those durable skills at scale, and hopefully uh, build in that skills gap.
Fantastic. You also mentioned stackable bits along the way, right? Both within what you're doing at Foundry College, but we're hearing more and more conversation about stackable pathways or alternative credentials as students persist through programs. And I wonder how you kind of see the future of the alternative credential, the stackability of learning, and maybe even boot camps fitting into the future of higher education at large.
I think the way I used to think of it, so if I go back 10 years, if someone had asked me that question, first of all, most of the words wouldn't have made a lot of sense. But if I would have been able to understand the question, I would have said something like, "Oh, well, if you go to an undergraduate 4-year college, right? You the stackability is, well, you take a class in chemistry and you learn some like number stuff, and you take a class in math, and you take a class in history, and one in political science, and one in English and sociology, and sort of learn all those little skills that sort of hopefully build up into the top of that. Like, here are you at the top, ready to be a productive employee." I think what people want now is they want to see right now at the beginning how I'm going to get those skills. I want that job, or I want that lifestyle, or I want to live in this following way. How do I do that? And it's not by, as much as I enjoyed studying Shakespeare, it's not by reading Hamlet and setting it around a table. You can learn some of those skills doing that, but it's really, really indirect. I think people want to know what that outcome is right now. So I think you do that by thinking, first of all, as learners, as consumers. They're not just, blank slates that blindly go to college and then let their teachers teach them whatever the teachers want. You just sort of say, okay, that's what I'm supposed to learn. I'll learn that and enjoy it. Students are now active consumers. They're going to pick the brands and the skills that they want. So we have to, again, meet the learner where they are, meet the customer where they are. And if someone wants to spend 4 years getting this degree where they learn a particular skill, to get that, they have to fulfill all these distribution requirements. Great. I think that's a smaller and smaller world of learners and customers out there. I think most of them, in terms of that stackability, are going to say, well, I enjoy coding, so I'll go to a boot camp for 6 months. At the end of that 6 months, according to this place, I'm guaranteed a job. I'll do that for a little while, see how that goes. That'll give me the kind of freedom. I can code from anywhere. I don't have to go to an office. Or I want to be a Salesforce administrator. That looks really good. There's a human connection there. There's a data element. There's a database element. That's where I think we address that now, is we give people the opportunity to pick the kinds of pieces that they want to put together. I think in the past, education was sort of it was take it or leave it. It was, here's what we're offering you. If you don't like it, too bad for you. You don't get education. You're going to have to do a service job for the rest of your life. I think now the market in these last 10 years has really created a whole series of different pieces that the consumer, the learner, can go, I want that piece, but not that piece. I want that lifestyle, but not that lifestyle. I want to be in school for 6 months, but not 4 years. I want to be in school for, in our case, 2 years and not 4 years. But in our case, you can step off whenever you want. You can do the durable professional skills. You can get the certificate, the credentialed certificate. You can get the associate's degree. All of those steps as you go. I think some of the mega universities are starting to understand this as well, which is, I think, partly why they've scaled. So ASU, Southern New Hampshire, Western Governors are beginning to understand that their consumer is looking for a whole variety of different kinds of things. So I think that's how we do it. We give people the option, and there's no longer the sense that you're limited to the school that's right near you. You Google whatever you want to Google. I want to learn to be this. I want to make more than $50,000. I want to live in Seattle. All the things that you put in, and then you just sort of sort down reach out, you look for reviews of it. Is it a 5-star product? Is it 4 stars? Do I want to borrow money or not? You can make all those decisions. Before, you couldn't do that. Before the internet, before online education, you were more or less statistically fated to go to school in the 100-mile radius around where you live. There's still some truth to that, but it's less and less true, especially post-COVID.
And do you foresee a consolidation of maybe like a marketplace, if you will, of all of these different opportunities for learning, right? So that students actually have the ability to get to all of that information in a more centralized manner. Just helping my own kiddos looking at colleges and trying to figure out what their future looks like. There's so many options. It's really hard to put together a plan or understand how many different pathways there are, right? So I just wonder if you see an opportunity for something like that at some point in time.
I think there is. I think the way that will manifest itself, at least initially, is you'll have companies slash schools. Let's stick with schools for a second. That will basically say, okay, so we can support any ride that you want to take. You want to be here for 4 years? Great. You want to be here for 6 months? Great. You want to be here for a summer? Great. We have all of that. So maybe we're at the point where we were when in the U.S. at least, where department stores were created. Before, you would have to get your sewing notions in one store and your haberdashery in a different store. I'm sorry about the ancient language, but and a couple stores, Macy's here in New York and Philadelphia, Wanamaker's, places like that, the dry goods stores, they started to consolidate. So you'd go to one place. I think there are always people, even during that time, that went to specialty stores because the big stores weren't serving their needs. We'll probably be in a place now, and I think this is what, as I said, there are these mega universities that are being created that are trying basically, and you can see them, they're acquiring the not-for-profits, the for-profits are acquiring the different chunks of brands that they're looking for. You have some companies like Chegg that acquired Thinkful, right? So Chegg did all the stuff that it did, and then it said, okay, so we do this with textbooks and supporting students and all those other things. There's also this other company out there that provides content that's getting people, certificates and credentials moving forward as they go. That will happen. You see Southern New Hampshire acquiring places. You see ASU expanding into learning enterprise with my former Minerva colleague, Marianne Goiano, running that now, looking into other markets, obviously not just for Arizona, but California, the whole country, the whole world. Southern New Hampshire moving into Africa and serving those populations. I think there are these places that have deep pockets and have global ambitions that will try to address that. The other part of this is for you and I who have been to ASU, GSV, and conferences like that, just thousands and thousands of ed tech startups that are out there that are addressing little tiny pieces of the market. So, gap years. ASU could do that, right? Southern New Hampshire could do that. But there are 5, 6, 10 really great gap year companies out there that have also integrated into the education system by giving you credit for those classes. So you do a gap year, you walk into your school, wherever school you go to, because that company, I'm thinking of Vertu Education right now, has an articulation agreement with 50, whatever it is, schools. So could a mega university do that? Maybe. Is it more innovative to have all these ed tech companies do it? I think so. I think there is going to be an attempt at consolidation by the larger groups. But that said, I think there's tremendous space open still, which is why the VC industry is so active right now and looking for, startup companies that have a great idea. At Foundry, we're partnering with, instead of hiring 5 people to do job placement, which is something we feel really strongly about, that our graduates should get jobs. We'll have some internal resources, but we're partnering with a brand new startup in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where a lot of our students are, which I can explain more about, with a company called Pathrise, which is another young company that focuses on finding mentors for learners directly at the companies where they want to be. So again, in the past, if I was running, Harvard Law School's job placement function, I'd hire 5 more people. We'd reach out ourselves to all the different companies. We'd have to raise more money to support that. But instead, we have innovative partnerships with hungry startups that are in place at the companies in the geofence locations where our learners are looking for jobs. I think both trends are in place. I don't think it's going to consolidate one way or the other. I think you can't stop 20 somethings from starting new ed tech companies, 50 somethings from starting some ed tech companies. And you also can't stop, Michael Crow and Paul LeBlanc from getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and saying, well, what piece is missing? Let's acquire that. And you have people like Matt Greenfield, who's on the board of Southern New Hampshire, who's his own VC, who supported the creation of an incubator at Southern New Hampshire to create the solutions that Southern New Hampshire is looking for at Southern New Hampshire. So I mean, you have crossbred versions of all these. So I don't see it in the same way that in any given day I have to check like literally 12 different messaging elements. I always say that, ask the same question that you asked, which is, why doesn't someone come up with like one central app that shows me all the people trying to communicate with me? Well, because that would require, WhatsApp and Clubhouse and Twitter and LinkedIn to all be integrated, and that seems unlikely. So, is it kind of chaotic now? Yes. But does it mean that there's more opportunities for everyone to find exactly what they want? Absolutely.